And I want to first thank you for joining us today. It looks like we have a pretty small group. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kayla Bodie. I'm the program manager here with the background check unit at the Division of Child Care. And also on the call is Brenda Burr. She is our program coordinator with the background check unit. And then I also see our fearless leader, Miss Dawn Jeffrey. She is the assistant director here with the Division of Child Care, and she is over our unit as well. So thank you again for joining us. We are going to be discussing background checks today. Before we get started, though, I would love if you are a facility, if you could put your name, the name of your facility in the chat box, just so we know who all is here. And then let us know if you are a new facility that's just getting started, if you're new in your role and doing background checks, or if you're a facility that's been doing this and you're just here for a refresher. That way we kind of know who is here and what information would be best for you guys. And while you're doing that, I'm going to put my information in the chat box so that you have my contact. And then Brenda will also put her contact information in the chat box as well.
Hey, Kayla, I just wanted to say something too. We realize this, of course, is a small group, but one thing that we are looking at is the last year of compliance and to see what programs are having difficulties with. Maybe that's something that we need to dive into deeper and see if we're not getting the message out clear, or that if we need to do some more training. So, you know, child maltreatment record checks was the second from the top of programs being out of compliance. So we're going to dive into that too and really look at maybe we need to do some more training on one specific area too. So then we're doing on our end.
Absolutely. And I see, so Kim, this is going to be a new added duty for you. And let's see, we've got Doodlebugs. Okay. So is Doodlebugs, is that a new facility that's just opened, or is that something, have you guys already been doing background checks? We've got lots of resource materials. And so if you don't already have these materials, put your email address. Okay, gotcha. So refresh reports. If you all will put your email address in the chat box, I will send you a copy of this training document. It's a PDF, so it's got all the links for you. If you need, you know, the link to the consent form or out of state or anything that we discuss, you'll have that, and it's really easy to navigate. You can just click the link. And then it's good to know that you're not new facilities, because we also have a resource to help you get signed up for an INA subscription. And so I would send that as well if you were just starting out. But just like Dawn was just saying, there has been a lot of deficiencies in the area of background checks. And so we want to do everything that we can to provide information and resources and training so that we are not seeing those deficiencies. So of course, we don't want any agencies to be deficient in any area. Our licensing specialists do not want to do that as well. They want to come in and check everything off and it be a great visit and feel positive and you feel positive. So we are here to help. We're on your side. And that's why we're going to do these trainings. We do them every single month, and we do have different ways that we can train. We can tailor it if you need one-on-one. Please share the information. You can share the Zoom link with any of your colleagues that you think would benefit from this training. If you know any new facilities that are starting out, or maybe you just have colleagues that are going to be assisting you with the background check process, you can share this with them, and we would love to have them on the call. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I wanted to ask also, since you are, everyone here is already currently doing background checks or your facility is, if you have anything that you would like to share that are some areas that you're having difficulties with, go ahead and put those in the chat box because I would love to hear maybe what part of the process is the most difficult for you. What part of the process may be slowing you down, or is there something that you have a suggestion that might make it easier and better for providers? So we are willing to take those suggestions. We want to know where those hiccups are so that we can hopefully fix it on our end. We are constantly upgrading and trying to improve our system, and we're excited for where we're going in the future with the electronic background check process. But if you have consistent difficulties or things that you see that could be done better, put those in the chat box and we will kind of address them throughout today's call. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and get started. If you cannot see my screen sharing, please let me know. I think it's already up there. Let's see. Okay. All right. So just a couple of updates. These are really just reminders. There's not a whole lot that has changed in the process. Any potential employee that has lived out of state in the last 5 years must have background checks completed for those states. So if this step is not completed, it's going to delay the process, or it may result in a not approval after a period of time. So if you have an applicant that has lived out of state in the last 5 years, we've got, there's going to be a link when we get into that section of this training. You can go there and find steps for all of the states that are listed. But if you have questions or you get stuck, please call us. We want to help. We've got great resources for that. If we don't know the answer, we will find the answer. If a state has changed their process, we will find out what new forms it may be, what new process it may be, and we'll get you that information. So call us if you get stuck. And then the second reminder is a lot of you may have applicants that are coming up on that 2-year expiration on the child maltreatment checks. So just be sure that you're submitting those in the central registry. You know, we don't require that you submit anything into your background check portal. Those are done through the central registry portal. But just don't forget that those are due every 2 years. They're not 5 years. So make sure you're submitting those. You should get an email with a letter. It's a copy that shows their cleared result for their employee records. So we will go ahead and get started and talk about who needs a background check. So when you're talking about the Arkansas child maltreatment, all staff, that includes janitors, therapists, volunteers, student observers. And then when we're looking at the criminal and the FBI, all of your staff, including your janitors, your therapists, they're going to need a criminal and FBI. We've got your volunteers and your student observers in a gray area. And that's because depending on their role within your facility, how often they're volunteering, how long they're coming in for, is it a one-time volunteer? Are they coming in weekly? All of those are going to play a factor in whether or not you need to go ahead and submit a criminal and an FBI as well. So this is just a visual representation. And we just want to remind you, reach out to your licensing specialist, discuss with them what this person will be doing in your facility. And remember that anyone who is unsupervised, counts in ratio, or has staff roles with children will need a background check, and that includes your transportation staff. Again, refer to licensing requirements, reach out to your specialist, ask those questions. They are there to help, and they will be able to guide you to know exactly what you need for each one of your staff. And just as we were talking about child maltreatment, so your FBI, your federal result, and your criminal result are good for 5 years. So once you have gotten approval in your INA portal, those federal and those state results are good for 5 years. Your child maltreatment, however, does need to be renewed after 2 years. So every 2 years, you should get a new one of those letters that needs to go in your employee records. Do we have any questions so far about who needs a check or how often you need to run those checks? And as a reminder, if you have questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat box. We'll stop and answer those. We've got a small group, so no big deal. The next thing we're going to talk about, we won't go into a lot of detail, but we just like to go over is disqualifying candidates and what that means. So all of you can go into your licensing regulation book in section 110. You're going to see a list of disqualifying offenses. These offenses listed are categorized by a misdemeanor or a felony. So if you have an applicant and they tell you they've got a theft of property charge and it was a misdemeanor and they were, convicted last year, you're going to know automatically that that person is probably not going to be eligible. A lot of times we will have providers call and they'll ask because that applicant is being honest. And I always tell providers, if this is the charge, no, it's not going to be eligible, but we want to encourage people to apply. I understand not wanting to submit the check if you know they're not going to be eligible, but we always want to recommend have them apply. The charge could have changed and we will work it and see what we can come up with. If there's any change, of course, if it was a conviction, then they wouldn't be eligible. And the list you see here on the screen, so breaking and entering, third degree domestic battery, that's first, second, or third degree, theft of property, resisting arrest. This is just a short little example of some of the things that you're going to see on that disqualifying offense list. And again, you can find that section 110 and you can see the full list. It's a couple of pages. I just encourage you to kind of become familiar with that. And then let's see here. Okay, so the next is going to be permanently prohibited offenses. So this is different than a disqualifying offense. If someone maybe had a misdemeanor felony theft charge and it's been over 5 years, they're going to be eligible to work. However, if they have a charge like one of these arson, capital murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, regardless if it's a misdemeanor or a felony, that person is not eligible at all ever to work in childcare. So there is no time limit on this list of offenses. And you can see this list again in your regulation book. It's section 110. It's going to be at the top. So you'll see that it's separate from the others. And you'll also notice these are going to be your more serious offenses, your violent offenses. So we are going to go on to the next slide. Any questions so far? All right. Now we're going to talk about the electronic background check system. So the electronic background check system, it goes by a couple of different names. There has been a changeover in ownership. So the system is what we call NICAR. It's the National Information Consortium of Arkansas. You'll also hear us just refer to it as the background check system. And this is where you're going to submit all of your applicants' background checks. A check through NICAR is going to include your Arkansas State Criminal Background Check, the State Sex Offender Registry, federal criminal background checks, and then the National Sex Offender Registry. As a provider, you must have a subscription account with NICAR, and that is currently INA. It's the Information Network of Arkansas. They were just purchased by a company called Tyler Technologies. So you may see some name changes, but the links and the contact information will remain the same. So if you do not have a subscription account, you will need to subscribe. However, most of you in this meeting today already have an account. So you've already got that hard part set up. You've got your account ready. And then just a reminder that the child maltreatment is submitted separately. That is done through the central registry and processed through the central registry. So we have links here you can click on and it's going to take you to their website, but that is done separately and it's not done through the same portal. Any questions so far? All right. Now we're going to look at the step-by-step process show you some screenshots so that you can have a visual of what it looks like when you're going through the steps of submitting a background check. Now that you have your subscription and you are able to log in, the very first thing that you're going to do is you are going to submit a consent form. And the consent form is found on our website. We've got the link here. And it is called a request for criminal background check. This form gives our division the authority to run the background check on this person's behalf. And so it's very important that all of the information on these forms are accurate and correct. The very first thing that you are going to do is you're going to go here and select the type of facility. If you're a child care facility, you'll select child care. If you're a child welfare, so if you're a placement or a residential facility, you're going to select child welfare. I believe everyone here is child care, so you're going to select child care. Pretty simple. Next, you're going to complete the rest of the information. A lot of providers will have the applicant do this since it is a digital form. They'll fill out all of their information, their demographic information, and at the very end, it's going to ask you an email address for this to be sent to. You can either have the applicant put their email address or yours. That is completely your choice. Whatever email you put here is going to get the copy of this request form, and that is what's going to have to be printed to be notarized. So once you complete and you click submit, you are going to get a copy of the completed form to that email address, and this is what it is going to look like. So the very first page is going to have the contact information for that applicant. It's going to have the child care facility name, the child care facility number, and the reason for background check. It is very critical that you make sure that the child care facility name, the reason for background check, and the facility number are correct. It should say child care and then your facility name. So for our example, we have Children's Garden, and then your facility number. And then the next page is going to be the notary section. And again, this is another critical part. This is where we see a vast majority of our mistakes that are going to result in a non-approval of that applicant. The notary stamp needs to be clear. The date that the applicant signs and the date that the notary sign must match. If the applicant leaves the date blank, that's okay. But if they put a date there, it has to match the date that the notary signs. And this all needs to be clear. And then, of course, the last page is just a signature and a date from the applicant. So they're signing a Privacy Act statement, and then they're signing a statement acknowledging that they have received the challenge information, which are those links there to the FBI website. These are federal forms. They are extremely important. They are audited just like you all get audited from your licensing specialist. We get audited as well. So these forms have to be correct. If you get a not approval within the first 24 hours of submitting, it is always going to be because of an issue with the consent form. If you get a not approval on an applicant, or if you've uploaded the form and you know that you had a mistake, reach out to us. We'll make sure that you have our email contact. You can send us the corrected form, and then we can upload it and get it processed for you. So it is not an end of the process. We can make corrections to those forms and get them uploaded for you. Does anyone have any questions about the consent forms? And again, this is a PDF. So whenever you rescan this and it's been notarized, make sure that you are saving it as a PDF. If you have any issues with that, or you need some help getting that, reach out to us. There are some free apps if you don't have a scanner. There's one that we recommend quite often. It's called Scan Guru. I know there's several other ones in the App Store. They're free. You can download to your phone. And you can take pictures of each page and convert it to a PDF. I know not all facilities have a scanner, so this is a great option. It's an easy option and it's quick. You can just snap them with your phone. Just make sure that the pictures are clear. And that's pretty much the hardest part. That's probably where the most errors come in. So if you can get this part down, then it'll be smooth sailing on the rest of it. So if you have any questions, again, don't forget, put them in the chat box. Your next step is going to be to log into your NICAR account, and this is what the homepage looks like. It says Arkansas Department of Public Safety at the top. Now, once you're logged in, you're going to go to the search tab along the top of your screen, and you're going to fill out all the information for your applicant. Please be sure that all of the information that you enter matches what the applicant's driver's license, state issued ID, or passport says. If they are going to take their driver's license with them to be fingerprinted, and that's going to be their identification, it needs to match exactly what is on their driver's license. So if you have an applicant that got married last week and they haven't changed their driver's license yet, they either need to change their driver's license first, or you need to put their maiden name that is on their driver's license. Otherwise, they're going to be denied fingerprinting. So make sure that this information is correct. Once you submit, you will not be able to go back and edit. And if you have to resubmit an applicant because there are errors, you will not be refunded by Arkansas State Police. So take your time when you are submitting this information. And you can see here in the middle is where the signed consent form is going to be uploaded. That is your PDF that you just completed. And be sure that your purpose says CHI childcare. If you're a child welfare facility, it should say CHW child welfare. If you're a childcare facility, the only options you're going to have are search FBI and state. That is a requirement. You don't have the choice to do one or the other. And then you're going to fill out the FBI information. And again, this is why I always recommend have a copy of that driver's license in front of you, because you're going to have your eye color, your hair color, your height, and your weight all there for you. And you're not going to have to try to find the applicant and get that information. It's going to be all pulled right from their driver's license. Next, you're going to have a review your work option. So take a few minutes, make sure that all of your information is correct, especially that date of birth, the first name, last name. Those three things will cause them not to be able to be fingerprinted. And again, we don't want you to have to resubmit and be charged again. So just take a few seconds, double check your work. And then you just click submit, and you are going to receive a confirmation with a transaction number. And you may notice that you have a search ID number and a transaction number. Those are actually one and the same. So if you're a child care facility, it's going to start with CHI, a 0, and then a 7-digit number. Right now, that starts with a 3. Same for child welfare. It's going to say CHW 00, and then your 7 digits. It is the same as the search ID number. You're just adding that prefix, the CHI, and then 2 zeros. And of course, you will need this for fingerprinting. So you can either print this page or just jot down that transaction number so that you have it when you go to the next step. Any questions so far? Okay, and we just have a tip that if you do need to make changes, when you go back to step 1, just make sure that your consent form is uploaded. Sometimes it can not be attached when you click that back button. So just make sure that it's uploaded whenever you resubmit if you have to change any information. Okay, now we're ready to schedule fingerprints. And we have the link there for you as well. And your first step is going to be to click Make Appointment. And then you're going to see fingerprinting. And you're going to click this to submit for a time and a date. And we want to make sure that our applicants are no longer pending in NICAR before they actually go to be fingerprinted. So when you go into your account and you are looking at your tabs, you can click the History tab to see if your applicants are under that tab. If they are, they're ready to be fingerprinted. However, if they're still under the Pending tab, they won't be able to get fingerprinted. This rarely happens, but if you enter information incorrectly, they may stay in that pending status for a little while. And again, that's under your pending tab. So once you have selected the fingerprint office button, it's going to ask you for the scheduling information. This is going to be the name and then your transaction ID. And as you can see, you're going to have that CHI and then the 00 and your 7 digits. And you also see here that there's a space for an E number. This is specifically if the applicant has an E number because they are being reprinted for a rejection. You would have gotten a letter from state police with an E number. If that was the case, it is not a required field because that's the only time you would put a number in there. But just so you're aware, if that has happened and you've had a reject and you need to schedule them to get printed for that second time, the E number will go in there and they'll take that letter with them to their fingerprint appointment. Next, you'll click submit and continue and then fingerprinting. And you're going to have an appointment option. So you can click the local county office that's nearest to you. And sometimes you may be wanting to find one that's more near the applicant, and you can do that as well by just putting in the zip code or just searching on the map. Once you select your location, you can select the date and the time that works best for the applicant. And then here you're going to put in their personal information, and this is going to send them reminder texts or emails or both, reminding them of their appointment. So you'll put their information there and click submit. And again, just as a reminder, make sure that the applicant takes their state issued ID with them to the fingerprint appointment. This is going to be how the fingerprint technician will verify their identity. If they do not have this, they will be turned away from fingerprinting. Any questions on scheduling fingerprints? All right. So now that you've scheduled fingerprints, you are done with the state and federal part, and you're ready to submit your Arkansas child maltreatment. I recommend that you do all of this in one sitting if you can. We all know that you're very busy, but if you can submit these at the same time, it is going to make the process faster for you to get results back. Because when we are looking and processing your background checks, we are going to look for this child maltreatment result and see if it's there. If it is already there, that's going to speed up the process. Then we're only waiting on those fingerprints. So go ahead and submit that. We do have a link for the Central Registry's website as well as their contact information. When you're submitting the child maltreatment check, make sure that you have 5 years of residency listed. Again, everything is done digitally now, so you won't be mailing any forms in. You're going to submit the reason for registry check, and you're going to select that second option. You're a potential or current employee of a child care facility or residential facility for children and youth licensed by Arkansas DHS. And this is really critical that you select this option. If you don't, we will not have access to see it, and it is going to delay the process. So a lot of times maybe the applicant goes on and they're submitting it, or maybe it's a public school and they are selecting the first one that says you are a teacher, and then they kind of start reading, they stop reading at that point because your staff are teachers, but they are not for a school in Arkansas, they are under the Department of Education. So your providers, your applicants are going to be under the next section that says potential or current employee for facilities that are licensed by Arkansas Department of Human Services. That is why. So just make sure that that second option is chosen. That way we have access and we don't have any delays in the process. Any questions on submitting your Arkansas child maltreatments? And again, we have the link here, and I'll make sure and send this to all of you. You can click on that link that says request a child maltreatment check, and it's going to take you directly to their website. that has the form there where it's going to be uploaded. And they have a great little video at the very top of the page showing you step by step what to do. The central registry is great. You usually get those results back in the same business day. So kudos to them. They get those results really quickly. And if we have no questions, we'll go on and talk about a couple of special conditions. So the very first one is if you're a school district. So currently right now, school districts are having to submit background checks under both the Division of Child Care and the Department of Education. If you are a school district and you need help with submitting both of those, please give us a call. You can give me a call. My phone number is there in the chat. And I will help kind of guide you through that. You'll have 2 different prefixes on your account. So that is something that is a little bit different and kind of special conditions. And then we also have providers that are licensed both under the Division of Child Care and the Division of Developmental Disabilities. So if you are both a DDS provider and child care provider, we can help make sure that you have both options on your account. And then, like I said, please give us a call. We'll be happy to give you assistance on that. Next, we're going to talk about out-of-state requirements. So this is another one of our areas that we see a lot of questions about. It usually causes a lot of delays because you are kind of at the mercy of another state. And so if you have an applicant who lived out of state in the last 5 years, they are required to conduct a criminal background check, a child maltreatment check, and a sex offender registry check for that state. However, there are some states that participate in what we call the National Fingerprint File. So these states do not require the criminal background check portion. So, for example, Colorado participates in the NFF. And that means when this applicant gets fingerprinted, we're going to be able to pull the criminal results from Colorado and other states as well. So that does help those states make it a little bit easier so that you only need the child maltreatment and sex offender registry check. And we have the contact list here. This has every state, their contact information. They're highlighted in red if they're an NFF state. And we've also created a guide on our website that tells you if you need to do the criminal, if you don't need to do the criminal for each state. And it has links and instructions for each state on what you do need to do. So here you'll see our website. It's right there in the middle. If you go there, it's going to have all the different information for each state. You just select the drop-down menu, click on the state, and you're going to have those instructions. And so Tennessee and Oklahoma, our unit will actually complete here in our office. Their online portals, we can just put in the applicant's information and get those results. So you don't need to do anything for those states. We will do them when you submit them. California is a closed record state, so you won't be able to get records from that state. You don't need to do anything. Arizona will only release child abuse and neglect results. They will not release criminal record results. So again, you'll only do a child abuse and neglect and then sex offender registry from Arizona. And you don't have to remember all of this information because we have that great guide on our website. You can just click the state and you're going to have all of that at your fingertips. And then sometimes we get questions about applicants who lived in a different country in the last 5 years, and there is nothing that you're required to do for another country. However, they still do need to list those addresses on the child maltreatment request so that we can make sure we've got those full 5 years and we know, but you're not going to be required to run any checks for out of country. Any questions so far on out of state? All right. So now that you have went ahead and you've submitted for out-of-state results and you get those back, or you are going to be filling out a form to have them sent directly to us. This is our contact information, our mailing address. And then of course we have an email address that's dedicated to out-of-state. So you can send your results by email directly to backgroundcheck@dhs.arkansas.gov. and we will get those processed for you. And again, there's our link for out-of-state background checks. We wanted to make it as simple as possible so that you can just go there, find the state that you need, and you are done. And we're going to talk about a few things that we can't stress enough. So a staff member cannot begin working until the Arkansas State Criminal Record Check has been returned as satisfactory. This means that your applicants cannot begin working until you see an overall provisional status in your account. If it says overall pending, they should not be working yet. If it says overall provisional, they can be on site, they can be hired on, they can be working. However, they must be supervised by an approved staff member at all times. So if that person is just going to be helping out in a classroom as a second person, they're going to be, doing those breaks, and you've got 2 people in a classroom, that's fine while they're in provisional. Any questions about pending versus provisional? And then you can log into your NICAR account. This is where you're going to see the status. And again, they cannot begin working if they're still in overall pending status. Also want to remind you about making sure your information is correct before submitting. The applicant's name and date of birth must match their state issued ID. And then if the provider is a provider, if you have an applicant that is no longer employed, and they were in provisional, you're waiting on additional documentation, or you've decided to separate from employment, let us know. If they're in provisional, we will kind of archive them out, will not approve them, and move them out of the way so they're not still in our queue of needing to be worked. And then another reminder is when emailing the background check unit, it's really helpful if you include that search ID number. That will allow us to find the correct applicant, because sometimes names can be similar, spelling can be off. So if you have that search ID and you can put it in the email, that will help tremendously. Now we've got some important phone numbers. So we have the background check unit. This is the main line, the 682-8590. If you just need to get a hold of someone to help you right then, you can call the main line, ask for the background check unit. And then of course, my phone number, Brenda's phone number is also in the chat box. You can call us directly if you need some assistance. And then we have the NICAR subscription account. This is the help desk. So let's say you are needing to update your payment information, or you are needing to see when your invoice is going to be there, copy an invoice. You're going to call the NICAR subscription account. They'll be able to help you reset passwords or get that payment information taken care of. And then the NICAR help desk line, if you're having technical issues submitting, or if you're getting an error, anything like that when you're submitting an applicant, you can call the help desk and put in a ticket for tech support. And the last important phone number is going to be the central registry for your Arkansas child maltreatment checks. That is the phone number that you'll want to call if you're having any problems getting those uploaded or getting your results of your child maltreatment or your adult maltreatment check. And Janice had a question. Can new employees start a new hire training without an approved background check? So Janice, if you want them to start the new hire training, if you're referring to like the online new staff orientation trainings, they can start the training. That's a business decision. If you want to go ahead and start them on all of that training, you can do that. They just can't be in the facility with children. So they can't be in the classroom. They can't be working with the children until they are provisional. And then, of course, to be left alone, they will need to be overall approved. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. And then Janice also asked, how do I get an account for Kim for milestones for her own login? So Janice, I'm going to send you, I've got your email address. I'm going to send you some instructions, but I'm also going to post the link here for everyone in case anyone else has that same question. You're going to have to log into your INA subscription account. This is where you'll manage your users. So you can add up to 10 users on your account that can go in and submit background checks and view background checks for your employees. And like I said, you can add up to 10 people and you'll go and log into that. If you have any problems logging in, then you'll have to call the support desk, this 501, the 683-5037. You'll have to reach out to them to have the IT professionals there help you get logged back into your account. But I will post that link for all of you on where to go to manage your INA subscription. And then we're going to talk a little bit about possible delays in the process. These are just some of the things that we see the most often whenever we are looking at background checks. I think that the biggest delay that we have is going to be incomplete or incorrect consent forms. And so we just kind of want to remind you of some of those delays. If you have an applicant under your history tab and their overall status says pending and it's been more than 24 hours, that may mean that there was something on their state criminal report that we are needing additional information for. And again, if they're overall pending, they cannot start work yet. They have to be overall provisional. If you're getting a provisional status for many, many days, it could be that the applicant still has fingerprints pending. This means that fingerprints have not been completed. So if you see that fingerprint pending status, they have not been fingerprinted. May also be that their first set of prints were rejected. That can happen if their characteristics of their prints are not clear and they'll have to be printed a second time. If you have an applicant that gets rejected and you'll receive a letter with instructions, but if you need help with that, you can reach out to us. And I think Brenda also put some information about the rejection letter also being attached to your portal. So you'll be able to get that digitally as well. And then they may also be provisional because something on their federal report needs additional information. And we may have reached out to the applicant, we'll send them a letter and gather that documentation from them. And then also could be for out-of-state checks need to be completed. You may be waiting on another state, or the child maltreatment needs to be completed. All of those could be reasons that an applicant is in provisional. You should receive a notification from one of our staff within the first 24 to 48 hours, letting you know that there is something that needs to be completed. If you get that notification that says, hey, this person needs fingerprints, you can ignore it if you've already scheduled prints. All that is strictly a notification, a reminder that's just letting you know that, we are here's the information, here's some links to help you. We're just reminding you in case you don't know the full process yet. And then some reasons for a not approval. Again, if that consent form has errors, it's incomplete. If you upload something other than the correct consent form, if the notary stamp is missing or it's not legible, you're going to get a not approval. That's going to happen in those first 24 to 48 hours. If an applicant is not approved because of their background check, it's going to be at a very minimum of 10 business days because they have due process. So if you get that immediate not approval, it's not necessarily anything to do with their background check. It could just be consent form. Of course, they cannot be working if they're not approved. So you need to reach out to us. Let us know if we need to get some documentation fixed on your notary page or whatever it may be. And we will get that uploaded so that we can get them in provisional and they can go ahead and get started. And then if an applicant is submitted more than one time, so if they have duplicate entries, one of them may be not approved and then the other one will be processed. And lastly, one of the biggest things is maybe an applicant doesn't get fingerprinted. They have to be completed within 45 days or they're going to be not approved. So If you submit an applicant and they do not get fingerprinted, or you do not put their maltreatment submission in within 45 days, they're going to be not approved. If you get that notification and you're not sure what's missing, again, call us. We'll be happy to take a look and help guide you on what we need. I always just say, do it all at one time, one sitting. You're already there. Go ahead, put all the information into both, get your documentation notarized, upload them at the same time. That way, you know your maltreatment's done. You've scheduled your fingerprints and all of those parts are done. So then all you're waiting on is for us to get it back to you. Any questions on possible delays or any questions on anything that we did not cover or talk about that you have questions about? Brenda, do you have anything to add that we did not talk about today?
I do not. I just want to thank everybody for attending today. And if you have any questions, just reach out to Kayla or myself. Our contact information is in the chat box.
Yes, and I'm going to post, Janice, I'm going to send you the link here on our chat box, but I will also include this to my email for everyone along with the slides. I'm going to send you the information where to go to manage your subscription account. So when you go here to log in, this is where you can manage your payments. Like I said, your other staff that are able to log in and able to submit background checks. And you'll just go there. I just put it in the chat box. If you don't remember your password, I believe there's an option to do forget password. And if you don't get anywhere there, please feel free to contact the INA help desk. And I'll put that phone number in here as well. And they will help you get all set up.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Does anyone else have any other questions, any comments, any concerns, anything that we can take as suggestions and try to make better? Okay, well, I hope that today was helpful. I will be sending you all resources. I have your email addresses in the chat box. And again, you're more than welcome to share this link with any coworkers. We'd love to have more people join next month. We would love to share this information. So if you know anyone at another facility that could benefit, please feel free to share that Zoom link with them. You can give them my contact information, Brenda's as well, and we'll be happy to help. Hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for everything that you do for the children in Arkansas.
Thank you.